Most was also the one
Love me
slowly
crazy
destroying
right
your
now.
life, and you didn't even realize it until it was too late. In a world where love looks perfect on Instagram but hides chaos behind closed doors, this story will shake you, twist you, and leave you questioning everything you think you know about passion. If you love intense romance, shocking betrayals, and psychological twists that hit hard, subscribe right now, because stories like this don't just entertain, they expose the truth about love and madness. The first time Daniel Hart saw Ava Monroe, she was standing in the middle of a crowded Brooklyn subway platform, laughing like she didn't care who was watching, her red coat blazing against the gray winter morning, and he would later swear that was the exact second his life split into before and after. Before Ava, he was stable, structured, a financial analyst with a 5-year plan and a sensible girlfriend in London he'd been meaning to propose to. And after Ava, he became a man who confused chaos for destiny and obsession for devotion, because Ava had a way of looking at you as if you were the only person in the world and at the same time as if she was daring you to survive her. And when she caught Daniel staring that morning, she didn't look away. She walked straight toward him and said, "You look like someone who's afraid to miss his train." And he laughed awkwardly and replied, "I am." And she tilted her head and said, "Then maybe you're afraid of the wrong thing." And the train arrived but Daniel didn't get on it, and that single reckless decision cost him more than he could have imagined. Within weeks Ava had inserted herself into every corner of his life. She moved like a storm, unpredictable, electric, intoxicating, taking him to underground jazz bars in Manhattan at midnight, convincing him to call in sick and drive to the cliffs of Dover when he flew back to the UK for work, kissing him in the rain outside Heathrow like something out of a film. And Daniel told himself this was what real love felt like, raw and untamed, not the polite dinners and careful conversations he'd had before. And when he finally ended his safe relationship, Ava didn't celebrate, she simply said, "Good, now you're honest." And that word honest echoed in his head because honesty was the one thing Ava seemed to demand while giving almost none in return. There were cracks early on, tiny fractures he ignored, like how she would disappear for hours without answering calls and return with a vague smile saying she needed space to breathe, or how she would ask Daniel intimate questions about his childhood fears and then use those same fears against him during arguments, telling him he was predictable, small, afraid of risk. And every time he felt himself pulling back she would pull him closer, whispering apologies, promising she was just scared of losing him. And Daniel, who had never been needed so desperately by anyone, mistook her volatility for vulnerability, he mistook her jealousy for passion, and when she smashed his phone against the wall after seeing a message from a female coworker, he told himself it was because she loved him too much. Their love became a spectacle among friends, half of them envying the intensity, the other half warning him that no healthy relationship burned that bright without consuming something. But Daniel defended her fiercely, saying people just didn't understand a connection like theirs, and maybe he believed that, maybe he needed to believe it, because admitting the truth would mean admitting he had thrown away stability for something unstable. And things escalated the night Ava suggested they move in together after only 4 months, saying life was too short to hesitate. And Daniel, already estranged from old friends who were tired of the drama, agreed, and the apartment they rented in Shoreditch became both sanctuary and battlefield. Mornings filled with laughter and spontaneous dancing in the kitchen, nights filled with accusations and tears, Ava oscillating between calling him her soulmate and accusing him of plotting to abandon her. And Daniel walked on eggshells, adjusting his tone, filtering his words, trying to anticipate storms before they hit. But you cannot predict lightning. And the first real fracture came when Daniel discovered a second phone hidden in Ava's coat pocket, a phone buzzing with messages from someone saved only as J. Messages that were not friendly, messages that were intimate. And when confronted, Ava did not deny it, she flipped the narrative, saying Daniel's lack of trust proved he was just like everyone else who had ever betrayed her. She cried so convincingly he found himself apologizing for invading her privacy. And later that night she held him as if he were the fragile one. And that was the pattern: twist, deny, reverse, embrace, until Daniel no longer trusted his own perception, until he began to wonder if he really was the insecure one, the paranoid one, the problem. Months passed and Daniel's performance at work declined. He missed deadlines, forgot meetings. His boss in London warned him he was jeopardizing a promotion. But Ava insisted corporate ambition was a trap designed to keep him small. She painted a picture of a freer life, traveling, creating, living passionately rather than safely, and Daniel started to consider quitting, until one evening he overheard Ava laughing on the balcony, her voice soft in a way it hadn't been with him in weeks, and when he stepped outside she abruptly ended the call, claiming it was her sister, though Daniel knew her sister's voice and that wasn't it, and something shifted inside him, not anger but clarity, a flicker of self-respect fighting through the fog, and he began quietly documenting inconsistencies, screenshots of messages, timestamps of disappearances, not to accuse but to anchor himself in reality, and what he uncovered was devastating. Ava had never fully left her ex, a charismatic photographer named Julian who thrived on chaos as much as she did, and she had been oscillating between them, feeding off the devotion of two men who both believed they were the chosen one. When Daniel confronted her with evidence, there was no denial this time, only a chilling calm as she said, "You knew who I was when you met me," and he realized she was right in a way. She had never pretended to be stable, he had simply romanticized her instability, and the fight that followed was explosive, neighbors knocking on walls, accusations flying, Ava screaming that Daniel had tried to cage her, Daniel shouting that she had manipulated him from day one, and in a moment of rage she admitted something that shattered him completely. She had approached him intentionally on that subway platform because she sensed he was safe, dependable, easy to read, exactly the kind of man who would fall hard and stay, and the randomness he had treasured as fate was in fact strategy. Daniel left that night with nothing but a duffel bag and the fragments of his pride, sleeping on a friend's couch, replaying every memory through a new lens, recognizing how each tender moment had been intertwined with control, and yet even then part of him missed her, missed the intensity, the way she made the world feel cinematic, and that was the most terrifying realization of all. That toxicity can masquerade as passion so convincingly you crave it even when it's destroying you. Weeks later Ava showed up at his office unannounced, eyes red, voice trembling, saying Julian had left her, that she had made a mistake, that Daniel was the only one who truly loved her, and for a brief, dangerous second he considered taking her back, because loneliness can be louder than logic, but then he noticed something subtle, a flicker in her expression not of remorse but of calculation, as if she were assessing whether her performance was landing, and Daniel understood that if he stepped back into that fire he would not emerge intact, so he did the hardest thing he had ever done. He said no, and he walked away while she shouted after him that he would regret it, that no one would ever love him the way she did, and perhaps she believed that, perhaps in her own fractured way she had loved him, but love without stability is just chaos dressed as romance. Years passed, Daniel rebuilt his life slowly, therapy entangling the knots she had left in his mind, learning that intensity is not the same as intimacy, that calm can be beautiful, that boundaries are not cages but protections, and one rainy afternoon he saw Ava again by chance, across a crowded street in Manhattan, still radiant, still magnetic, laughing with someone new, and instead of longing he felt gratitude, gratitude that he had survived, gratitude that he had learned the difference between love and crazy, and as he walked away he realized the real twist was not that she had deceived him, but that he had deceived himself, believing he needed chaos to feel alive, when in truth the bravest thing he ever did was choose peace over passion that burned too hot to hold. If this story kept you hooked until the very last line, make sure you subscribe right now for more intense, twist-filled love stories that hit deep and stay with you long after the screen fades to be.